Hello and welcome to episode 285 of the Health Oddity podcast. Now, we've got a really interesting topic of conversation today. We're joined by a great guest, and we're going to be talking about getting out and getting outside. And we're going to see where it takes us. Nature, outdoors. I know I'm speaking to a lot of members at the moment of mine who are kind of saying, "Oh, it's really difficult at the moment with the weather and the rain and the cold and the wind. And in the summer, I'll do much more steps." And Pete is shaking his head. No,
It's not more
okay.
difficult. You just open the door and go outside. It's not
Yeah, you just put on put
that.
on put on some more appropriate
Yeah.
clothing. But yeah, we're joined by Duncan Moore from Let's Get Out. How are you doing, Duncan? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Yeah, I'm a bit nasally today, so you have to bear with me. But yeah, I'll
It's
soldier through.
you don't sound too bad. You sound
Oh,
you
that's
sound
okay.
fine. You sound fine to us. So Duncan, I suppose to begin with, I mean, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, about Let's Get Out, how that came about, and kind of what you do and why you do it, I suppose, and who you do it for. Just we'll be asking questions along the way, but yeah, just be great to get to know you and what you do a bit more.
Yeah, okay. So just touching on the Let's Get Out thing, we're a community interest company, so we're a not-for-profit. I founded it in 2020, when we had a bit too much time on our hands around about that period. Um, and the main goal of it is to get young people outdoors. I used to just before sort of COVID time and during COVID, I was a scout leader. I'll touch a bit on my background in a bit, but I've always sort of been quite outdoorsy, even though my job wasn't necessarily an outdoorsy job at the time. Um, but I went in and started to help a local scout group, and they used to spend quite a bit of time indoors for a scout group, which I thought was quite weird. But one of the things I always remember from that was when I first started going in and helping and saying we're going to start to, get the scouts outdoors a lot more. Um, I'd actually got some sort of feedback from parents just saying that none of the kids would want to go outdoors. They just wouldn't be interested in doing outdoor stuff. And sort of, I found that a bit unusual as a feedback from a parent, some parents. So anyway, didn't listen to them, and we just carried on as we as we planned. And the numbers in that scout troop actually kind of increased up to we ended up putting a waiting list in from quite a smallish one that was kind of dwindling numbers. We ended up putting a waiting list in, and we done lots of outdoor stuff. So yeah, we just went back to the basics, firelighting, bushcraft, and all of these sort of camps and stuff like that. And sort of work doesn't take long to get around when they're in schools. And that was it was probably a bit of an eye opener for me as well. That actually it is still in there because you doubt you think I'll reminiscing a bit, but we all I know it sounds cliched, but we was always outdoors when we was younger, going out playing over the woods or down the stream or something like that. And you sort of thought maybe it has disappeared a bit, but that was an eye opener that it hadn't. Um, and the more and more I've done that with Scouts, the more and more um, I started to think about, this, I need to do this more. I also helped out with Duke of Edinburgh Awards, sort of occasionally on like a freelance basis. So there was them sort of pathways all coming in. In the end, I just decided to go for it and just thought, actually, I'm just going to start up a company that concentrates on getting young people outdoors because I see all the benefits it'd give all the ones we'd worked with so far. Yeah, so as I say, 2020 started up Let's Get Out as a community interest company, and we started running forest schools. We started running Duke of Edinburgh Awards once we could all get back outdoors again, and it's kind of took off from there really. We're now sort of doing some funded projects as well. We run funded projects for different sort of types of cohorts, which we get some funding for. But it's all it's all it's all just kind of based around the basics, really. I don't want to go over in depth and give big words out and stuff because I don't really do that because I can't remember a lot of the words in the first place. But but it's real basics. It's things like communication and memories and stuff like that that I really like. There's always, I mean, when you go on to Duke of Edinburgh Awards stuff, like DofE stuff, they always talk about CVs and it's good on your CV and all that. But I think beyond that, it's them other smaller things that people get what they don't get when they're sitting inside on technology or not actually sort of face to face with people.
So do you think that, because I've got a 6-year old and a 9-year-old, and my little boy is 6, and he loves being outdoors and he loves getting his boots on and getting muddy and going in the woods and walking and feeding horses and just playing outdoors. And we did, I think it was his birthday this year or last year, we went to, I think there's a place, something like Wilderness around Chelmsford. It's like a
There's a,
wilderness kind of forest wood thing where they
the
go.
Wilderness
They
Foundation.
Yeah, Wilderness Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he went there for his party with loads of kids, and they're like, cooking marshmallows over the fire, and they're playing in the woods, and they're doing all these kind of treasure hunts and things. And I think so, because like you say, I think people have a view now of, well, kids aren't interested in that now because they're playing on computer games or they've got their tablets and stuff. But do you think it's almost, is it a lack of, in certain sort of societal and socio-economic groups, maybe there's not the option or the ability to get out as much if you're kind of maybe living more in a city and things like that? Or do you think maybe parents just aren't, kind of, both parents are sometimes very, very busy, so it's easier to just keep kids indoors and not take them out? I mean, what do you think's going on there in terms of why we have this perception of children not wanting to, but when they actually get out, like you say, they really connect with nature and they love it?
Yeah, I think it's there's a little bit of everything in there really with what you said. So there is lack of spaces. Sometimes in cities you're more blessed with open spaces you can use than you are if you're out in the countryside, because the countryside looks all nice and open, but a lot of it's farmland, and you're only got the odd public footpath and place to use. A lot of woodlands you see are private woodlands, and so sometimes you do have more options of getting out and about in cities. They have more designated green spaces,
Mm,
unless you go out to the hills with your open access areas. But I think there needs to be more places where people can go and venture out. I mean, you've only got to look at some of, if you go around some of the home counties and some of the country parks, what you have, they get so busy in the summer that
mm,
sometimes them little country parks get so busy. I think it has the reverse effect of putting people off because
mm,
they're mobbed. The car parks are full, and it's nice that people are actually using them, but they're too busy, which shows that there's not enough places for people to actually spread out. Uh,
mm,
I think there's also an element of, parents are so busy now, working parents now, and time is sort of valuable now for people, isn't it? People seem to be working longer and longer hours a lot of the time, for less and less, but that's another matter. But so I think there's that, but I think there's also an element of the fear factor as well comes in huge when it comes to young people. Just people not wanting to let their children or their grandchildren, whatever that may be, actually go out and just play. Like used to be a well, just that's the way it used to be, wasn't it? You just used to go out. I know it sound like a really old person when I
It's funny because when you're talking about this, there's obviously places to go, like wilderness places and all that are set up for people to go to and enjoy themselves and all that. But you say it's like busy in the summer mainly. Because there's a few things here that are going through my head. Like the first thing is what James said at the start. People don't want to go out in the winter, and it's not that bad if you've got like, not even technical clothing or anything, but you've got a bit of warm clothing in that. It doesn't rain as much as you think it does in this country. If you're out and about a lot, as I am,
Mhm.
it feels like it rains all the time when you're indoors, but when you're outdoors, it's not that bad. Um, the other thing, like you've just said, yeah, when I was a kid, it would just be like, go out and play, and you'd disappear for a day. You'd be out all day, and then you'd come back when it was dinner time or when the street lights came on or whatever. But the other thing is, I think from my perspective of what I do, I take adults out in walking groups, and they don't know where places are. Like in Bath, we are blessed. We're in a city, but there's like great countryside surrounding us. So there's all the footpaths and all that sort of stuff. People drive everywhere, but we'll go walk along a footpath and be like, it comes out on a road and they'll be like, oh, we're here. And they don't even know where it is because you come out of a different kind of aspect of it, a different perspective of where you are. But they're like, oh, I've driven down this road before. I know exactly where we are. And it's like, I didn't know you could walk here. So I think with all of that, like just educating people on where things are, how to get there, where you can park or whatever. And then there's all these things of like, the places are there for people to go to, like the wilderness places, but you can also make your own kind of little routes up and stuff like that, which aren't far out of where you live. It's definitely like that here. I don't know what it's like in Chelmsford, but it's definitely the confidence of the parents to take the kids out as well, I think, is something that is lacking now because they don't know where to go and what if we get lost and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And that's where technology can really play a good part in all of that, because with navigation apps and stuff, people who are not necessarily so au fait with it, they can just plot a route on public footpaths and go out. I always think that I could leave my house here now, go for a walk, and I would see less people than if I went to, say, the Brecon Beacons or sort of in the Peak District. You go to, I mean, they're lovely places. I'm not, I really enjoy going to them, but obviously everyone goes there. Whereas I could walk out the back, I can go for a walk for, a couple of hours and hardly see a soul. If you want to have some sort of peaceful time in the countryside, using footpaths and just, you don't see no one. And that's on your doorstep. Like you say, it needs to be, it's giving people that knowledge and that confidence to go and do it, isn't it? Really.
Well, I think what you're talking about showing kids where to go and stuff is great because like from my point of view, I'd want them to show the adults as well, the kid, because when we go out, like I say, I show people where things are because there's lots of places where you can get a map and you could go, but people haven't got the confidence for the maps because you've got people who'll go out on their own happily, like me. You've got people who will take a map and go out with a couple of friends, but then you've got people who will be like, well, I've got a map, but what if I get lost and I won't know where I am and I can't navigate? So, if you can show those people just a few routes, then they're like, well, I know where to go now. So they can do that. And then they start to build their confidence up and might get into a bit of navigation and stuff like that. So that's where the Duke of Edinburgh thing comes in really well, I think, because, it teaches kids like how to do that basically, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think it's also nice when you see, obviously we do a lot, all young people, but when you go out, like I take the dog out and you see local rambling groups out with older clientele, should we say, but you walk past them and you just hear the conversations and everyone chatting away, and it's just so nice. I mean, I always have something in my head that the bigger the thing I want to think about, the longer walk I go on. So the bigger the problem or the decision I've got to make, the longer the walk is, because it takes longer to switch off more. So if it's quite a big decision, the dog gets dragged on a longer walk. So.
There's also a thing I've just thought about there, like if you meet a mate for a pint or something like that, you always said, oh, we're having a good conversation. Do you want another one? If you're out on a walk, you can go, oh, we're having a good conversation. Should we go this way instead? And then you can prolong it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So Duncan, what would you say? I mean, we've had a guy, I don't know if you know Nick Rainbird at all, who's another fairly local person, but we had him on and he does like things like forest bathing and he's into Wim Hof and being out in nature a lot. I spoke to his wife recently and I mentioned that you were going to come on the podcast, and they both live, I think they're Writtle kind of area, but they both, and I think she'd heard of you, and then there was another lady I spoke to earlier today, Sue Bell, who runs Kids Inspire, who knew you, or knew Let's Get Out, for example. But what would you say? Obviously, this is something you've set up, and it's important, like you say, you want to encourage and help kids to get out more and to get out in the nature and to be but what are the kind of benefits that you really see? And I suppose there's physical benefits, there's kind of mental benefits, there's societal benefits, there's all kinds of benefits. But what do you see as this is what you do? The benefit of kids getting out more. What do you see?
I always think the overwhelming one for me is communication and how they communicate with each other in different types of ways as well, not just conversing with each other. When you're actually face to face, especially if we do sort of some of our residentials or the expeditions when they're out a bit longer, or forest schools when they get to know each other longer, they because they're away from not because they're away from their technology, just how they're in that zone where there's no other distractions and they have no options but to communicate with those people. But I think it's things I often pick up, it's things like they learn facial expressions and stuff as well, which I think is something that is kind of getting a bit removed with how people communicate now, especially how young people communicate. Their heads down, Snapchatting and stuff like this, that they've lost a lot of that actual face-to-face communication. So I think that's one of the really big things we see, that whole communication side and how that improves. And it's sort of that in turn kind of I think it builds a bit of sort of empathy as well. So it increases the kind of empathy for people. Probably because there's no escape neither. You're with them people. There's no way out. So that sort of side of things I think is really big. And there's also like memories as well. I said it earlier on about memories, and I go back into schools and stuff after for the new year, like at the moment we're going into schools now prepping for this year's Duke of Edinburgh Awards. But then I see the sort of young people from a year ago, 2 years ago, sometimes even more, and they all come running up, they all come chat to you, and they're all sort of remembering things that happened, very clearly as well, and they just recount it, boom, boom, boom. They're talking about it, and they're all sort of laughing. They've all got these real good memories, and I think that's a huge thing, and I think that's one of the drivers towards why I started this, because I think back to the school trips when I was younger, going to Wales, PGL stuff, and all of that, and the amount of time I spent at school, the strongest memories are like those camps and going and doing stuff on that. You're really they etch into your mind. So I really like that side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember. It's funny you saying that. You've got memories deep in the mind that you kind of just get buried there, and you never kind of open the box, as it were, because you just know. But you just saying that, I can think of, we did a school trip to the Peak District. We did a school trip to like the Isle of Wight, and you're there with friends, and you're kind of out, and especially, I think, yeah, the Peak District was secondary school, but the Isle of Wight was, like, say, primary school. And you can remember that quite vividly when you decide to remember it. I mean, it's kind of not a memory you access very regularly. Pete's smiling. He's going to say something.
Richard Carr, right? Richard Carr. This was when we were about 10. We went away to this place called Howtell, which is up near Wooler in Northumberland, and it was like 4 days away or whatever. And we're all staying in this dorm, and we all got told off because we were really noisy and we didn't go to bed like till 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. We're only 10 years old. And it was him. He kept bloody talking and cracking on and everything like that, right? So the next morning they got us up at 6 o'clock and had this running up and down this paddock, right? And he didn't have to do it because he was asthmatic. So we all just remember that.
Oh dear. So Duncan, do you actually take groups away for multiple days and nights and things like that as well?
Yeah, so when we do expeditions, we do, yeah. So they come away with us. Yeah, we do residentials at our site. We do Duke of Edinburgh residentials and stuff at our site. So we have them for sort of multiple nights. Yeah. So
what is your site? Because you have told me before, but it sounds like, yeah, tell us a little bit about the sort of the setup that you've got and what you do, because I think the site you've got well, just tell us. Yeah, it sounds
it's very back to basics. It's in Doddinghurst, so it's sort of near Brentwood area. Um, and it's basically just a field and a woodland, if you want to. That's how it started. So it's fenced off. It's with some other land around it. And it's just very back to basics. We use it. We use it for our Duke of Edinburgh Awards and our bushcraft stuff as well. But it's also, considering where it is, it's not a million miles from M25 and A12 area. It's surprisingly quiet. It's quieter than a lot of places you'd go and you think you're in the middle of nowhere. It's really nice for that. It's even quieter when all the kids have gone home, which is really nice. But yeah, it's just a really nice site, and a lot of the kids always point out that. And yeah, so we're very, as I say, we're very back to basics. We've got a marquee shelter over there. We have recently, just at the end of last year, we got some lottery funding, so we're getting a large TP classroom going up over there now, which is going up in March. Which apparently this TP seats 72 people. So
Wow.
it's quite a big TP.
Mm.
So that's going to be set up as an outdoor classroom, which is going to allow us to stretch sort of the year out a bit more and cover it when the weather's not so favourable.
Mm.
So we've named that one the Acorn Academy. So yeah, a lot of our stuff stems from acorns. Just for another long dog walk of me thinking that kind of yeah, so that stems from, I'll just go off on a little bit of a tangent, but that stems from one of our funded projects. We put it under the Every Acorn project. So that's kind of our umbrella name for them all. So it stems from every acorn a big strong oak tree can grow. So if we treat our young people as the acorns, they'll grow into the strong adults of the future, which is sometimes my little tagline, like building strong adults of the future. Yeah, so that's where the Every Acorn project kind of stemmed from. Yeah, so once we get that classroom up, that should be a really good link. So we've got somewhere to actually learn when the weather's not too good, but we haven't got to put off sessions and stuff. Yeah,
So in terms of the stuff you mentioned, sort of bushcraft and things like that. I mean, I know there's lots of popular, obviously like Bear Grylls and people like that who, on TV, and there's those kind of programs that not kind of nature programs and wilderness programs and things like that. I mean, when kids are coming to you and getting involved in maybe like the bushcraft and the outdoor stuff, I mean, how quickly do they take to it? Do you find that because kids, again, we may be generalizing here, and I probably am, but whereas kids now spend a lot more time on technology than we did when we were young, do they kind of take to this physical stuff quite quickly, or is it taking them a little bit more time to, to get back to nature, I suppose, which is what you're doing with them?
Yeah, well, if the key to that is to start with fire a lot of the time. So go back to the basic of fire,
Hmm.
because just everyone loves starting a fire. They
Okay.
do. Kids just, I think it's just a subconscious thing. I think it's a human thing, isn't it? It's something that humans own fire. Other animals don't, do they? It's ours. That's our unique ability, if you like. And
Hmm.
there's definitely something in the subconscious that they love building a fire. They
Hmm.
don't like so much going and collecting the firewood a lot of the time to keep it going once they've actually lit it. That's the tricky part. But
Hmm.
if you start off with the sort of the basics of fire, they really engage. But um, the fire is a great way to bring other things in as well. So you can,
Okay.
so with the fire, you bring in being safe outdoors. So you sort of bring that element into it. And you can also bring in sort of tree ID and what trees to use, what not to use, and sort of countryside codes and looking at, leave no trace sort of elements and all of this. So starting with fire is really it's a really good sort of way to hook everyone in, and you can do that sort of on smaller scales depending on the age.
Hmm.
And there's no real age limit on it. I mean, I'm not going down too young, but we've had young people, like kids about 5, 4, 5, And once they get, so we often use like ferro rods, you know, the fire sticks for lighting fires, if people know them. But we've had young kids who are just so adamant they're going to do it. And it's not an age thing, it's a knack, you know, so a little bit of strength helps, but it's definitely it's an art of using one, and they get it, and they'll be there for ages sometimes, attempting and attempting, and you're helping, and sometimes they're pulling away going, no, I don't need help, I'm going to do it myself, really adamant to do it themselves. And they get it in the end, and then they realize that there's a little knack to it, and then they start to improve. So that's a really good thing, because then, but it's almost like caring for something with a fire as well. You're bringing in that element, you know, and suddenly they've gone to all that effort of lighting it, and then they go, yeah, I got it lit, and they turn around, it's gone out, and it's like, right, you've got it's preparation and all of this stuff you start to bring in. So yeah, it's mainly fire, and then carving's probably a very close second. Just sort of shaving off pieces of wood initially when you're younger, they love that as well. Yeah, and again,
Okay.
that brings in elements of, you know, being mindful of other people and safe and all of these things as well. We're using tools.
So do you have to as well, I suppose, do I don't know, like first aid training with them and say, like you say, tied in with safety, and if they're out in nature and if one of them gets injured, and does that kind of come in as well?
Yeah, we cover first aid and stuff. Yeah, obviously we all have to have our outdoor first aid certificates as well from staffing point of view. But yeah, we cover all of that sort of side of things, and just generally doing those tasks safe. And they do take it on board, because they appreciate the risks if you explain them well enough.
Yeah,
So
because I'm just thinking that also then, obviously you're teaching them first aid, you're teaching them safety, but then like you say, it's the life lessons as well of, looking after each other and caring for each other and, being responsible. And yeah, it sounds, yeah, really,
yeah,
really, really interesting. Yeah.
and like sort of collecting the right firewood and from the right place, and sort of being mindful of the environment while you're doing it as well, and not just
Mm.
the woodlands there for everything that uses it.
Mm.
And just sort of instilling that knowledge, which is
Yeah.
important.
And then do you find that, I mean, so when they do something like this and they come away with you, do you get good feedback from, I don't know, like parents or teachers or other people that are involved with them on how they've, maybe changed, or maybe not necessarily, you're not going to change someone maybe quickly, but the kind of positive impact that you've had on these kids?
Yeah, we do get really good feedback. We always get sort of positive feedback from parents and stuff, and how much they want to come along, and all of these things.
Mm.
One thing I just want to add on that, because one of the things we've often got feedback from, with some parents, is how it improves, like just being out in that environment, how it improves like sort of gross motor skills and stuff like that.
Mm.
So people actually um, getting used to that environment, because they've not spent much time in it. We've had kids come in on sort of longer forest school sessions, and they walk into the woods, trip over the first root, flat on their face, and then they get up and walk into a branch, and then it's just like, oh my God, what's going on here? They're sort of all over the place. But as they come back regularly, it doesn't take that long, and suddenly the mind's changed, and they're getting used to that environment, and they'll come in, jumping over roots, jumping over there, climbing over this, avoiding that. The brain switches to the environment it's used to being in, and
Mm.
that's like a really sort of, yeah, a really huge thing we notice, just how it improves those motor skills.
Because I think
Yeah,
we've spoke before, Pete, and you've talked about it before, I know, where if you're constantly just looking at like a screen or a phone or something close to you, your eyes just zoom in and they focus on this very narrow field of vision. Where if you go outside and you talk, don't you, Pete, about like looking at the horizon and
Yeah.
and actually just opening up your field of vision and just being aware and having like peripheral vision and like you say, walking into branches and tripping over things on the floor. Because if you're just constantly just focused on something that's in the palm of your hand most of the time, you kind of you zone in, don't you? You kind of lose that ability to use the sort of peripheral vision probably.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And also, how many times do people look up when they're doing that as well? You never even if they look towards the horizon, how many times do they actually look upwards and sort of even notice what's going on above their head as well? There is a lot of
Yeah.
research into you'll probably be able to remind me of the words because I told you I can't remember none of these words a lot of time. But there's a lot of research into the fact we're now using phones and actually the psychological effects of looking down, how it affects your mood and stuff like that
Yeah.
of actually looking down.
It's funny because even like just walking through town, through towns, you see people on the, like looking at phones and stuff like that, and they're just unaware. Like James said, they're unaware of what's around them. You know, and you'll bump into things, and you see people walk in front of cars and everything with that sort of thing. But what I've noticed as well, and this was it wasn't really a learning curve, but it was it happened very quickly. But if you take groups out of people and you go for walks in woods and stuff like that, they're just even if they are aware of what's going on around and stuff, while they're chatting away, they're not looking down. So tree roots and stuff like that, you have to say when you go into like a wooded area, right? Look at the floor every now and then because you're gonna be chatting away to each other and tripping over things and everything and all that sort of stuff, which is great because people forget about what's going on around them and they chat to each other and stuff like that. So it's like it's trying to bring all of that in together, like chat to each other, get to know each other, or find out a bit more, or you haven't seen each other for ages, but also be aware of what's going on around you as well. So it teaches people how to use their brains in lots of different ways and basically multitask, I think. But that's hilarious what you say when kids just wander in and just like bang, bang, bang all over everything. And people might think that's just a clumsy kid, and it's like, no, they just don't know any different.
No. There's nothing sort of sort of wrong in the brain with it. So it's just not experienced. Yeah, it'd be the same for anyone. Yeah, it'd be the same for an adult as well. Put them in that environment, and if they've never been in it, you don't know how to deal with it, do you?
So
it's like, a lot. Sorry, go on, Pete.
I was just going to say with the bushcraft stuff and all that, how does you've obviously, do you teach the kids that, or have you got someone who comes in to do it? And then if you do it, how did you get into it?
It was kind of I always used to. I've got a book here which I always keep by the side of me. Sort of linking in here. I got the inside this book. It's a bird book, and you won't be able to see it there. But I got given that on my 8th birthday by a neighbour. So I keep it on the shelf to remind me. So when I was like 8, I was really into everything outdoors. And I probably knew the names of more wildlife than I even do now because I used to be able to remember it in them days.
It's all right because you got phone apps now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So all of that sort of started when I was really young. So it's just, and then we started to sort of go fishing as well. And then we used to go night fishing. So we're just spending that time out all the time. Then to kind of hit that age when you're leaving school, went to work, all of that stuff happened. And I kind of drifted a little bit away from it. And I don't know, I never felt in them years, I was working indoors, working industrial estates and places like this. Never felt sort of settled enough. I felt like something was missing all the time. So I just started to get back into camping and all of this stuff, just sort of, this is great. Started to do that. But then, and naturally with going camping a lot, then started doing some wild camping. Started to get into all that and started to get back into just sort of the actual bushcraft side. So like the firelight, just all of the everything that comes with it, the tools and stuff like that. So it just sort of grew from there. We went on some Ray Mears courses and stuff. Went and done a couple of those.
That's the name I couldn't think. I was saying Bear Grylls, and I wanted to say Ray Mears as well. I couldn't remember his name, but I could see his face. But
yeah, there's two camps there with people. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Is it either Bear Grylls or Ray Mears? Is it?
Yeah,
is that how
it is. I believe it is in the bushcraft world. Yeah.
So you're a Ray Mears man, are you?
It was they were good courses. Yeah, he was on one of them we went on, so got to chat to him for a bit. But really good stuff like that. But then as the same with anything like that, well, the way I learn, I just tend to learn better when I go off and do it on my own half the time. So just get an idea and then go and try it. So I do a lot of the teaching stuff sometimes, but we've got others who obviously we've got staff members as well who can do it. So I'm getting busier and busier, so I don't get as much time to do it all now.
Yeah, so you're now kind of working on, I suppose, growing Let's Get Out and expanding it or building upon it and stuff. Do you do any stuff? I know like some people, even though your focus is obviously children, do you do any kind of corporate stuff or adult stuff to bring in more funds and things like that? Or is it solely kind of youth and children that you work with?
No, we're solely sort of young people at the moment. We
Mm.
did do some adult stuff in the past, but kind of the calling is towards young people. So I think we go up to sort of young adulthood. So with
Mm.
the tail end of the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, so we do like a bushcraft residential, which is a section out to do on that, and also expeditions for the gold. So from that, they can be sort of 16 to up to 25 for the golds.
Mm.
So we creep into that young adulthood, but that's kind
Mm.
of where we cut off at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No.
yeah, we just keep our eggs in that basket for now.
Oh yeah, no,
Um,
I mean that's where your passion is, isn't it? And that's where your kind of so what did you mention sort of work then? So you started Let's Get Out in 2020. What were you doing prior to that? Did you just have a kind of a normal, like you say, like a normal kind of day job where you weren't, this was more of a hobby back then before you started
yeah,
the business?
yeah, I was in the print trade for years because I grew up sort of on the outskirts of East London, and the print trade was very big around that area because obviously feeding into the city. So
Mm,
I just kind of fell into that because I left school and I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know,
mm.
everyone has these ideas what they wanted to do. I didn't have a clue. I just wanted to leave school and get working, to be honest with you. So I sort of fell into it. That's like I said earlier on, I ended up working industrial estates and shifts and stuff, and then time off was kind of yeah. If I wasn't doing the outdoor stuff, I was probably in the pub. But yeah, yeah. But it just never it never I don't know. It never felt I never felt fulfilled if that makes sense. You know,
Mm.
I knew it wasn't my vocation. And it
Mm.
just sort of yeah, it just sort of grew into and then yeah, grew into let's get out kind of thing happened.
It's
So
interesting. Sorry, go on, Pete.
I was just going to say, so why, like, what happened in 2020 then? Because obviously it wasn't the greatest time to start up a company of getting people together and all of that sort of stuff, was it?
No, well, before COVID, I was working. So I'd gone to part time in the print, and I was doing freelance stuff for Duke of Edinburgh Awards as well, like plugging gaps with some outdoor stuff. So I was kind of already transitioning. But then when the world closed down, I got furloughed. So I went on the furlough, and I just thought, well, I'm not going to get this ain't going to happen again in my lifetime. You know, sort of getting some money for not actually having to go to work. So that's when I also found an online forest school practitioner training for that one because that will switch to online. So I thought, right, well, I'll do that. I'll do my forest school practitioner training. Um, and yeah, in between that, I'd already had the Let's Get Out logo got designed by my friend in about I think it was 2017. I think it was 2016, 2017. He designed that logo. So it was floating around in the head before COVID. And then just having that time on my hands, it was just okay, it's let's push the button on it and go for it. And yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
That's fun.
That's great because we were talking, Pete, weren't we? We've recently listened to. I don't know if you've. There was a podcast or a YouTube with Alex Hormozy and Tony Robbins that we both watched, didn't we, Pete? And
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that at all, Duncan. Have you? It's
No, not that one. No.
it's really good. It's just that been out for a few days, but Tony Robbins is talking to Alex Hormozy, but it's really about kind of it was kind of about sort of success without fulfillment, really, was what, or having being very successful, quote unquote, in business, but not really feeling emotionally connected to it, or not feeling a sense of fulfillment, and not actually feeling kind of happiness or a sense of connection. So when you said there that you used to work and it was work, you were getting paid and you were paying the bills and stuff, but you never really were fulfilled. But now you've obviously found something that, well, it's a passion for you, obviously. You must love it, and you're sharing this with young people, so you're making a difference to young people. You're doing something very positive in the world, and you're also fulfilled yourself. So it's kind of ticking all the boxes, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely yeah, it's funny. It's some of the old cliches that sort of like, it doesn't feel like work, if you if I can't remember even what it is now, but yeah, if your job's your passion, you don't work a day in your life. It's a little bit like that. A little bit like that, not always.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, as it gets busier, you have to spend more time on a computer. So then I have to sort of pull myself back in sometimes that yeah, I still
Yeah,
make sure I'm
you have to
getting
remember to get out yourself as well.
exactly, yeah. I don't sort of like spend the time getting everyone else outdoors, but just sitting on a computer for like 5 days a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a quick chat about this on text, didn't we, James? In that interview for me, I saw him on. I think he was on Diary of a CEO as well, which I don't watch anymore. I don't listen to that one anymore. But he was on it. Tony Robbins was on it, and I thought I'll give it a listen. But it was like, I think Alex Hormozy said he donated 2 million quid to some like kids hospital.
It was like it was an after school project for kids.
It was something anyway,
Yeah.
and he felt no emotion about it. He's got loads of money. He donated 2 million. He's like, there you go. And Tony Robbins had said, how did that make you feel? And he said, nothing. I got nothing from it. I just felt nothing. He didn't want anything from it, but he felt nothing. And Tony Robbins said that's because you've not got any connection to it. So he talks about he grew up hungry and poor, and now he wants to feed as many people as possible. So he's got this he's feeding 1 billion people or something, isn't he? And that's what drives his passion. And it just made me think about that, because you've obviously got this. You've done this when you were younger. It's helped you when you were younger, and then you didn't have that connection at work, so you've come into this. And I've got that as well. With just I go out walking, and I just love it. It's my place I want to be, and I want more people to enjoy that. And the connection to it is huge, because if you've got no connection, then it's just a job again, isn't it? So like you said, that's what I will get to the point where you are right now of this is what I want to do, but I'm going to have to do all that other stuff as well. I'm trying to avoid at the minute.
Yeah. I've just been listening to the book Who Not How. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that one.
Yes, yeah, I've read that. I've read that one. Yeah.
It's quite good, and it's just about finding the right people to, rather than how can we do that, who can do that for me, and it's trying to find, a similar thing with Let's Get Out, trying to find people with that similar passion that I can put into a place to start something else up, because we've got a few things in the pipeline, like looking at building an outdoor classroom at our site and stuff as well. But again, it's got to be something that other people kind of take on. So,
yeah,
you can't do it all yourself, can you? That's for sure. Yeah.
No,
I've not read that book, but I think, like, in the future, I'm going to have to find someone who loves spreadsheets, and then they can do that. Because there are people out there who love it, and I'm not doing them.
Yeah. No, there are.
I'm awful with spreadsheets.
Yeah, that who not how is great, isn't it? Because it's kind of it's just flipping the question. I can't remember who wrote it. Can you remember if you're reading it at the moment?
It's Dan Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan.
Oh, right,
that's it. Yeah. Someone recommended that to me a little while ago, and I read it, and yeah, it does just totally change, because obviously Will, who you know as well, Duncan, Will Polston, who we've had on the podcast a couple of times, he says, doesn't he? He goes, just because it needs to be done doesn't mean that I'm the person who's got to do it, and he's got that up on his wall, isn't he? And it's kind
I was watching something the other day as well, and it was basically like, if you're in business, we're going a bit off tangent here, aren't we? But if you're in business and you're the ideas person, right? It's your thing, you've thought of it. Same with James and Unique Results. Same with me and Walking Souls, right? We thought of it. We go out on walks. I'm the same as you. We go out on walks and come up with ideas. I don't listen to any podcasts or anything when I'm out walking. I take the dog, I watch him having fun, and I just look around and then come up with things. But if I find someone else who also does that, it's just not going to work. You need to find someone who does the thing that you like, another thing. And then it all turns into a proper community, doesn't it? And a proper business and all that. So that's what I've been learning over the last few months, is like, don't find someone like you. Find someone who likes doing all the stuff that you don't do. They love it and you don't.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Another little thing I've been sort of thinking of, just to throw maybe slightly similar to that, but I'm looking at as we've had so many young people go through now, and we're sort of, it was 5 years old last year, and this year we'll be up to 6 years old. We're looking at starting an alumni, whatever you want to pronounce it,
Yeah.
network. So maybe start to bring in some of that as those people who have gone through the system with us get a bit older, maybe try and bring them in for the younger ones. So we sort of try and create that cycle. Rather than just sort of older people like me, like connecting with the kids as well, because it's sort of like, some younger ones help bridge that gap with it. So that's something we're gonna look at putting in place. So maybe they might have, I don't know, for example, if they'd gone through their Duke of Edinburgh Awards with us, finished their gold, blah, blah, maybe pull them back in to help with some younger ones, or even just go back to the bronze star or something else. But yeah, just to create an alumni network. Sort of thing is something we're looking at. So
Because that's kind of, isn't that how, I mean, I used to go to Cubs years and years ago. I never went to Scouts. And like I say, my little boy was in, what's the first one? Squirrels.
the
Then he's gone
squirrels
into
and
Beavers.
beavers.
Now he's in Beavers, yeah. But I think from memory, like things like Cubs and Scouts and that whole kind of movement, isn't it that you get kind of like some of the older kids to kind of maybe come back as helper? You know what I mean? It kind of it works like that, doesn't it? I think in
Yeah, they
terms
have
of
a young leader program in Scouts,
yes,
don't they?
yes,
So they come in
that's
as
what I'm
young
thinking.
leaders. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then then once you hit that magical 18, I think then they're like, trying to get you to be a leader because they're always looking for leaders.
Yeah, so that's kind of what you're looking at, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something similar to that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
it sort of feeds both sides then, doesn't it? It's not just the new young people who are getting it from that. It comes back to that whole thing of, once you can teach someone else something, you understand it much more in depth when you're teaching someone else things, don't you? So
Mm.
yeah.
No, it's great. And like you say, it's just building skills, isn't it? It's building life skills. And if you're then, a late teener, like an 18-year-old helping, maybe, I don't know, 12-year-olds or whatever, you're then developing yourself as a leader and communication and teaching and all those positive things that are going to kind of really help in a career or just life. So yeah, no, it's great. Really,
Yeah,
really
we
good.
went to Duke of Edinburgh Award. We had a conference the other day for all of the providers. Went down there, but they had a couple of what the D of E have as youth ambassadors. So some of the people who have gone through the award themselves, they bring them on as youth ambassadors, and it's quite nice to listen to them. So they all sat there and they'd sat there and done a talk to us. So we're all the providers, and we're all we've got our slightly different ways of working, all within the framework, but to actually listen to those and be able to ask them some questions and get the feedback of the ones who are actually doing it is
Mm.
quite nice. So yeah, so that's sort of similar lines to that of what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. So you've got this year then, sounds like, you've got your TP going up, your big TP going up in March, which is going to be fantastic. I'll have to try and come over and see you at some stage. So I'm only in Chelmsford, so I'm literally probably 20 minutes away from where you are, It'd be really good to I've seen your videos obviously of you walking around your kind of site. No, it's great,
Yeah,
walking and talking. Because what kind of size area have you got there, like the forest and the field? It's quite a big space, isn't it?
it's currently 5 acres. So yeah, it's a 5 acre site. So
Yeah,
it's about 3 acres of field and then a couple of acres of woodland.
yeah.
Yeah, compost loos and back to basic stuff. So yeah, which is always good for the young people to experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's good because it's kind of like a big enough site that it feels like you're outdoors and you're away from everything, isn't it? But it's also manageable, I suppose. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's not oversized. Yeah, it's not like one of these really big outdoor centres with old sort of Edwardian buildings on that needs loads of income to keep it going. So yeah, so it sort of
Yeah.
works well. But also you can make it if you put in too many creature comforts, it kind of takes away what we're trying to do. So
Mm.
it's nice. We want to keep even if the outdoor classroom goes through, you still got to keep that connection with it. Yeah.
Mm. So if people are interested, Duncan, and want to kind of follow what you're doing and see like because we've obviously spoke about the site today, and you've spoke about the TP going up and the woodland and the forestry skills and things like that. what is the best place for people who are listening or watching to kind of just have a look at what you're doing and maybe just keep eyes on it?
Yeah, our main channels are sort of through Facebook and Instagram at the moment.
Yeah.
Have got a YouTube channel, but that's more educational ones. So we put like videos on for D&V and stuff like that. But the Facebook channel, yeah, if you just look for Let's Get Out CIC, you'll find the Facebook and Instagram channels there. We're also going to be, when the TP does go up, we're probably going to plan a little opening ceremony for it. So we might build up a little bit towards that, just to sort of, if people want to come over and have a nose inside of it when it's all ready, that'd be quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you actually fund yourself then? Just, I mean, is it like you obviously get, yeah. I mean, how you're not a charity as such, are you? Or you're a community? So
we're a community interest company. So we're a bit of a middle ground of community interest companies are. They're a bit of a so we're not for profit, but we're not a registered charity. So we're still similar to a limited company, but we're not for profit. So we don't. It comes down to things like not paying dividends and stuff like that. Yeah, and we have asset locks and all of these things.
You're also open to getting funding as well, aren't you? From
we are,
because they don't fund limited companies.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
No. So we're open. We can open up to funding pots to do all different things for different types of cohorts.
Yeah.
Yes,
no, I was just wondering, you're not some. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, we're sort of in the middle. So obviously with Duke of Edinburgh Awards, there's charges involved with some of these things, but then some things are funded. So we're in the middle kind of ground really. But it all goes back to money being reinvested into better kit and expansion and stuff like that as well. Yeah.
No, that's excellent.
I haven't got a Ferrari or anything.
Probably got one of those sort of Flintstones cars where you got the logs and your legs are out the bottom kind of running.
I've got a Land Rover Defender, but it's about that. It's about sort of about 3 inches long, and it sits on the windowsill here in my dream. Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, I don't even have a car.
You don't need to. You're walking all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So on Instagram, guys, it's Let's Get Out _C.I.C. So Let's Get Out _community interest company. Get on there, do give them a follow, give them a follow on Facebook as well. And if you're anywhere near kind of Essex area, East London, then you're going to be close to where they are. Thank you so much, Duncan, for joining us. That was really interesting because it was just good to know more about what you do. Like we say, we've spoke to it's probably only really Nick, I suppose, that we spoke to, Nick Rainbird, but he's very much more dealing with adults doing this kind of thing, because it's probably kind of like adults who've got to the stage that I suppose that like you and Pete, where you used to have jobs that you didn't really enjoy, and then you found your passion. So it's dealing with office workers and people who don't really get out very much and trying to get them back out in nature. But you're obviously starting from the kind of hope, earlier in the process. So hopefully you're embedding some really good positive habits in the youth and young people that they can carry through into adulthood. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Duncan.
All right, thanks guys. No, thanks for having me. It's been really good.
Yeah, really, really nice. So thank you everybody for watching and listening. We will be back next week for episode 286, where we will be catching up with James Brees again to see how he's getting on. I think he's in Wales at the moment, so we'll be catching up with him next week. And then we've got some other great guests lined up over the next few weeks as well. So thank you, Duncan, and all the best for the future. And like I say, I'll definitely have to come over and see this giant teepee when it's up.
Yeah, look forward to it. Be good.
Brilliant. Cheers, Mr. Peterland.
Yep, thank you.
Brilliant. And we will see you all next week. Until then, bye-bye.